Another day, another adventure. I think it's time for another spontaneous and completely reckless activity. Maybe I should try to ride 125 miles on my bike. Game time.
Well, about 3 hours in, doing well, climbing up a giant hill. Just another day in the life of Erik. All right, everybody, it's 5:01. Been on the bike for about 5.5 hours now. Bro, I'm like trying to vlog here. So this is the longest ride I've done or attempting to do in 3 years. Honestly, everybody, if I haven't said it enough, I try to challenge myself on a daily basis. If you don't believe me, it's written on my damn bike. I wasn't kidding. Hopefully I can finish off the rest of this ride. I got however many miles left. I don't know right now, but I'm gonna keep pushing, and then we can get to the meat and potatoes of this video. No pun intended. Before we can continue though, I think it's time to taste the rainbow. You guys gotta comment down below what's your favorite flavor Skittle. Mine is everything right now. You know what sounds good? It's McDonald's ice cream. Might just have to get one after this ride. Wow.
Whew, man, that was absolutely insane. That was crazy. In case you guys were wondering, yes, I did indeed get an ice cream cone after that insane ride, and it was absolutely delicious.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Life's too short, everybody. Just eat the ice cream cone. Wow, it was amazing. Whew! Just living my best life.
I filmed a video for my second channel, TheElectric, so if you guys haven't got a chance to check that out yet, go ahead and check it out. The link will be down below in the description. But anyways, as you all know, in my last video, I gained 30 pounds in 1 day. I told you all if the video got 30,000 likes, I'd show you all the science behind the challenge and discuss pretty much everything that went on behind the scenes for the actual challenge. Now, I also got a ton of different comments on that video, so I wanted to say something to pretty much just clear the air first. Now, I have to get this out there because my videos are definitely what you would call extreme, so that's why I'm gonna say this first. The content within my videos really isn't healthy by any means, nor have I ever claimed that it is. You all see some pretty crazy stuff on a weekly basis for me, and it takes a lot out of me to be able to continuously bring new and exciting content to this channel. However, I wouldn't be doing this if it caused me any sort of physical harm or any sort of serious distress to my body. What you see in this video or any of my videos isn't what I'd recommend to any of you to do in your lives, and it could result in something fatal or dangerous. So take everything that you see in this video with a grain of salt. No pun intended. Now, you've all seen me stuffed to the brim. You guys have seen me in epic food comas, but there's only really been one time where I've learned, well, I'm gonna say it, learned my lesson after pushing my limits too far, which was the 100,000 calorie challenge. If you guys watched that video and you saw up until that point, I was not doing so well. After that, I definitely learned how much is too much, and I learned how to go about things after that experience. I do a lot to make sure that you guys understand that these aren't things that you should be attempting at home, because the last thing that I want is for any of you to try any of these things at home and to get hurt. Now that I've talked about that, I'm gonna switch gears and I'm going to keep this video specifically focused on the big question on everyone's minds. How did I gain 30 pounds in 1 day? To answer this question, let's start with some facts. An average person's weight can actually fluctuate between 4 to 12 pounds on any given day. Now, have you ever weighed yourself after a day of eating, and have you seen the scale jump and go, huh? and then the next day weigh in and see the scale drop significantly? That's because 60% of the human body is made up of water. Your brain, your lungs, your skin, your muscles, your kidneys are all made up of water so that you can survive. Now, your body is constantly absorbing and excreting water through things like sweating and, well, I'm just gonna say it, pooping, which can lead to some serious weight fluctuations. Now, people in sports like MMA, powerlifting, wrestling, have to learn how to master these fluctuations in order to cut weight for their competitions to be able to perform at their best. Now, I first learned about this a few months ago while gearing up for my first powerlifting meet. I did a lot of research online about weight manipulation and found some pretty crazy methods, but in a nutshell, I learned that dropping weight in a short amount of time can actually lead to some pretty serious consequences. So when I sat down to think about creating these weight gain videos, I definitely wanted to be safe about how I did things. Now let's talk about the night before and the day of the 30 pounds in one day video. The night before my 30 pounds in one day video, I kept a pretty low fiber diet, which is contrary to how I usually eat. I usually take in about 60 to 70 grams of fiber, sometimes even 80 grams of fiber on a daily basis through lots of vegetables and lots of fruit. Now, I kept my sodium intake as low as humanly possible to make sure that I had held or retained as little water as possible for the weigh-in the following day. Now, if you guys want to know more about how I actually eat on a daily basis outside of my challenges, give this video a like, because if this video gets, let's just say 25,000 likes, I'll do a full day of eating with ErikTheElectric. How about that? So 25,000 likes, do it. Anyways, I kept a low fiber diet the day before for a multitude of reasons. Soluble fiber binds with water and tends to stay in the GI tract longer, which would affect the weigh-in the following morning. Now, the reason why I choose a low fiber diet really is for performance reasons. Since I do my bike rides in the mornings of my big challenge days, I definitely don't want to feel bloated or bogged down on the bike. I did also take in some carbohydrates the night before, but made sure they were easily digestible. I definitely need energy to be able to get through the workout, the training session the day after. So the carbohydrates are very, very important. Now, the key to making sure that my weight was as low as possible for the challenge was mainly, just gonna say it, was due to water manipulation. Taking into account that I rode my bike for about 3 hours that day, I had already excreted a lot of water through activity alone. The other part that you didn't see happened a few moments before the first meal actually began. Now, I mentioned earlier that while gearing up for my powerlifting meet, I had done some research on how MMA fighters and powerlifters cut weight before competitions. So I found some articles which are 100% available online for anyone to read. And I found some methods from people that have worked for them, and one in particular involved sitting in a very hot bath for a few minutes and essentially treating it like a sauna. Alrighty folks, so it is 11:39, June 5th, now 11:40. I'm already fairly depleted after that long ride, but this is the final step in the depletion process. It's never really a pretty one, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Now, I did this for about 15 to 20 minutes before the weigh-in, and that, along with drinking a good amount of water, and along with a 3-hour ride that morning, led to an extremely low weight on the scale. Now, you guys saw that 161 pound number on the scale, and that was the lowest my weight has been in a long time. In fact, it's the lowest it's been in probably about 5 years. And my point here is that water manipulation really can get your weight down a lot, and it's not always the best thing. But once again, I can't stress enough how important it is to understand that your body needs water to survive. Intentionally trying to deplete the body of as much water as possible can have some really bad consequences and can be very, very fatal. However, once again, I know my limits and I know how much is too much. Now, the question on everyone's minds: did I gain 30 pounds in one day? Yes. Did I really gain 30 pounds of fat in one day? No. There are 3,500 calories in 1 pound of fat. I ate 15,820 calories in the 30 pounds in one day video. Now, I had a lot of people asking me how much fat I gained after doing the challenge. Now, to understand this, we have to talk about something very, very, very important: total daily energy expenditure. It's quite common for me to read comments from people wishing they had my metabolism, but this really has very little to do with my metabolism, and actually has more to do with my activity levels on a daily basis. Now, as human beings, we lose weight and gain weight based on our energy intake and our energy expenditure on a day-to-day basis. Being an endurance athlete, powerlifter, I have a higher than average activity level, which means that my energy expenditure is higher than the average person's. which therefore means that I require a higher amount of calories to maintain my weight. Conversely, if I was a sedentary person, if I sat at a desk all day and didn't move at all, my energy demands would be much, much lower, which would mean that I wouldn't require as many calories, which would also mean that I'd have a much smaller appetite. Now you're probably asking yourselves, Eric, why does this actually matter? Well, it matters because it answers the why I don't get fat from food challenges question that I get on a seemingly daily, actually hourly basis. An average food challenge for me varies between 10,000 and 15,000 calories. Now that being said, I'm active every day of the week as well, even on food challenge days and after food challenge days. Now the days after food challenge days are usually my active rest days. I usually go on a long walk or a hike or something like that, mainly because, again, I'm still digesting all that food. Now the day after the challenge, I usually see a huge spike in energy because my body is finally processing and is slowly finishing the digestion process of all the food and calories from the challenge. Now I've realized that this energy definitely varies based on challenges that have different amounts of carbs, fats, and proteins. Now the reason I don't get fat, well, let's look at the week that I did the weight gain challenge. Friday, June 5th, I had a spike of about 15,820 calories, 15,860 calories, whatever the number is. However, that day I burned between 2,800 calories and 3,300 calories through exercise alone. Now factoring my exercise into my total daily energy expenditure, which includes all of the calories I burned that day, which is factoring in how many calories my body burned just through being alive alone, my body burned between 4,400 and 4,900 calories that day, which means that my net gain from the challenge wasn't actually 15,820 or 15,860 calories. It was actually around 11,160. Well, that's certainly a lot of calories. In fact, that's about 3.18 pounds of fat, which is pretty crazy, but it's also important to know that it takes time to process the calories that are taken in, which is why the rest of the week is extremely important. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the days following the challenge, I am extremely active. Just like you guys saw earlier in the video, I rode my bike 125 miles 2 days following the challenge. Now, just to put it into perspective, that 125-mile ride burned an estimated 5,800 calories through, again, exercise alone, which brought my total daily energy expenditure up to around 7,500 calories that day. Now, I'm not doing that type of activity every single day, but taking into consideration that I am doing fairly large amounts of activity each day for the days following each challenge, it makes fairly decent sense why I don't, well, blow up after my food challenges. Now to get a little bit more specific, the week of June 5th, I rode my bike about 400 miles in total. Now that's an average of 66 miles a day. Now this was the most miles I've ever ridden in a week, and I definitely, again, don't do this every week by any means, but I wanted to show you all how important energy expenditure is when it comes down to food challenges. To simplify things, I make sure that I'm in an energy deficit the days following my challenges. Definitely enough to make sure that I can keep continuously putting out weekly videos for you all while staying healthy at the same time. The amount of a deficit I'm in depends on how many calories I ate during the challenge I did that week. Larger challenges generally mean that I increase my activity levels and that my deficit is a bit larger so that I don't put on large amounts of weight. Essentially, the goal is to break even with my weight the days following my food challenges to make sure that I can, again, continue to do them on a weekly basis. If I don't really stress about it all that much. I got a lot of questions about my weight, especially after last week's video. So I decided to make a really handy graph, that's even how you say it, a graph illustrating my weight gain and my gradual weight loss back to baseline the days following the challenge. So as you can see, my weight spiked up to 191.9 pounds on the night I did the challenge, but I slowly saw my weight creep back down to baseline the days following the challenge. Now, this is another reason why people need to realize that one day of big eating isn't necessarily as catastrophic and crazy as we make it out to be in our minds. Even if you eat a large amount of food in one day, it's not always gonna be a huge chunk of fat like our minds want us to think that it is. Now, I'm not gonna go on a huge tangent about this because I've talked about this in previous videos, but we've really become scale obsessed in our society, and we've become conditioned to freak out whenever we see that number on the scale spike, instead of sitting down and realizing and understanding that this number climbs and falls based on so many different factors. Everyone, I ate 2,300 grams of carbohydrates in that challenge. I also ate about 29,000 milligrams of sodium in that challenge. Both of these made my weight spike tremendously, but the body is efficient and the body always wants to return back to its baseline, assuming that you're doing what you need to do in order to get it back to its baseline, which is why my weight stabilized. At the end of the day, hopefully all this talk about weight gain was actually to give you guys, again, some perspective and some context, and just was able to educate some of you into why all of that weight that I gained, well, I'll say gained in the 30 pounds in one day video wasn't really all that much fat. In fact, it was mainly just water, food volume, and glycogen stores being filled, not actual fat gain. Now here's the real bottom line for this video. If I had a penny for every time I was asked, Erik, why aren't you fat? I'd be a millionaire. I've answered this question, folks, thousands of times over the years. I literally have a video called Why I'm Not Fat. I used to get extremely irritated whenever people would ask me this, but now I realize why people ask me this, and it usually comes down to a few different things. The most common thing. People seem to think that there's some sort of secret or magic pill that I and others take in order to be able to do things like this. We'll talk more about this in just a few seconds. Now, the other thing. People generally lack the desire to seek out this type of information because it's, well, I'm just gonna say it, it's too much work for them. Most of the time, actually pretty much every time, it's the whole magic pill that people seem to think that I take. Let me tell you about this ever so secret magic pill. You ready for this? There isn't one. Now, we live in a society that bombards us with get fit quick and drop as many pounds as possible schemes on a daily basis nowadays. And we've become a society that needs and craves instant gratification. This is generally how people tend to think when it comes down to weight and body fat loss. In that perfect world, the absolute perfect world, we want to be able to eat 30,000 calories of ice cream and pizza every day while having that shredded six-pack. And honestly, everyone, it's just not how things work. And it will never, ever work like that. The magic pill I take isn't so magical at all. And this is the part that people have the hardest time with because it's the answer that they don't want to hear. Because people want to believe that there is a secret or that there is a magic pill. The bottom line is that I exercise a ton and I limit my calories to be able to do what I do. Exercising is something that I genuinely enjoy. I genuinely love riding my bicycle. I love running marathons when I can. I haven't done that in a while, but you guys get the picture. But at the same time, exercise also basically feels like a part of my job at this point, and that's just the way things are. If I wasn't doing this on a daily basis, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. This is a concept that people have a hard time understanding, but I just wanted to clear everything up. Now, switching gears, I want to talk about the other common question that I get, and that's what the day looks like after food challenges. Now, the night of the challenge and the day following this challenge honestly weren't that horrible, to be honest, since the majority of the food I consumed was mainly salt and carbohydrates. The night of the challenge and the day after the challenge, all I really did was pee a lot. I peed like crazy, let me just put it that way. I also drank a ton of water the days following the challenge and limited my sodium intake to make sure that I was able to get my weight back down to normal again and essentially lose all that water weight and glycogen that I had put on from the challenge. Now, hopefully that gives you all a better perspective as to how I did everything, and there were a lot of comments in that video. There were a lot of positive comments, but there were some, well, let's just say seemingly confused people in the comment section. So I wanted to help those people be, well, less confused. So Colby Little says, Erik, you don't eat anything before your bike rides? ? Well, this is actually a great question. The answer is no. Especially in this challenge, it would have been counterintuitive to eat before my bike ride if the goal was to weigh as low as possible. Now, with my daily bike rides and with my diet in general, which if you guys want to see a video like that, smash that thumbs up button. I eat all of my calories, carbs, fats, and proteins the day before, which fuel my morning/afternoon bike rides. Granted, if my rides do indeed get lengthy, I do opt for a quick and easy and tasty energy source. And let me just say, Skittles have been my go-to lately. It isn't only junk food that makes you gain weight, healthy food can too. So I'm just gonna say this very straightforward. No particular food out there, I'm gonna say that actually again, no particular food out there will make you gain weight or lose weight. You will gain weight and lose weight depending on if you're in a calorie surplus or a calorie deficit. Carlos Monson says, you need to learn to not eat in extremes. Now, this is an example of what we'd call black and white or dichotomous thinking. It's important to realize that the 15-minute video that you may watch of someone on a weekly basis does not mean that they live their life like that on a daily basis. Now, this doesn't just go on for me, but this should be for every single YouTuber that you watch. Brittany Nan, actually found that kind of funny for this question, asks, why did you not eat a bunch of bread? I always hear older women say that they need to lay off the bread for a week when dieting. Now, this is another nutrition myth on the ever so long list of nutrition myths that just needs to go away. It's almost as bad as saying that eating carbs past 6 p.m. at night makes you fat, which we all know is just another nutrition myth that just isn't true. Dimma Don't says, I really don't think this is healthy. People's stomachs rupture at these amounts of foods. Now, this is a topic that I wanted to address because it came up not just on my 30 pounds in one day video, but also in my 20 pounds in 1 hour video. So I wanted to address this because it's definitely possible for someone to rupture their stomach, and it has happened before. However, it's so rare and it's so highly unlikely that that would actually happen. It's so rare, in fact, that I actually couldn't find any documented cases of it actually happened due to overeating. It's also so rare that I wasn't actually even able to find any clinical data or documented cases on it. So at the end of the day, everyone, I'm just gonna go back to what I said earlier in the case, that I know my limits and I know how much is too much, and if I felt like I was even anywhere near at the point of my stomach actually bursting, I wouldn't continue to keep eating. It just would really not be worth it at that point. Chicken Poop says, anyone else realized his mouth wasn't moving with his words? Staged video. I have no idea I don't even know what this means. Univerd Poland says, hi Eric, I think it would be very interesting if you did a blood analysis the day before and the day after your food challenges, such as analysis of morphology, insulin, glucose, LDL cholesterol, liver, and liver function test. Now, I get this question a lot, and another thing that people seem to assume when it comes to my food challenges, that I may not look, fat and unhealthy, but that I must be fat and unhealthy on the inside. I'm using those words because those are the words people usually use to describe me. People seem to think that I have high cholesterol, diabetes, hypertension, and all those other things, but I'm actually the healthiest I've been in my entire life. When I tell you all that, I really want you to understand that because I'm very aware of my body and my health. I truly mean it, and I pretty much have to be. I take every possible measure to make sure that I can keep doing what I do on a weekly basis. I supplement on a daily basis just to make sure that I'm getting all of my micronutrient needs and getting all my essential vitamins. I measure my resting heart rate every morning. I meditate regularly. I exercise regularly. And believe it or not, I actually get my blood work done quarterly to make sure that my health is in tip-top shape. And yes, I'm doing actually fairly well. Here's a snapshot of what my last round of blood work actually looked like. And no, I don't have high cholesterol. In fact, my cholesterol is actually decently low. Weird. Ramen Noodle says, Eric, you are built like a bag of milk. And I love it. Ramen Noodle, I have one. Here's another one. I have no idea what this means, but I think I'm going to just say thank you. So that's that, everybody. Let me just say, folks, I hope this has been an insightful video, an informative video. You guys have learned something from this. And if you guys want to see more videos like this, be sure to let me know down below in the comments. Once again, if you guys want to see that day in the life video or a full day of eating with Erik the Electric video, smash that thumbs up button. Let me know if you guys want to see that one and I will bring it to you. I just want to say it was good to get a little bit of a break this week, filming the basically 2 giant epic cheat days over the past 3 weeks was absolutely insane, but regardless, I'm gonna get back to the normal flow of things next week. And with that, we can jump back on the food challenge grind. Anyways, everybody, like I said, if you guys enjoyed the video, let me know down below in the comments. And without further ado, Electric Empire, I will see you guys next week.